Hello guys, thanks for watching this session for the MVPDays virtual conference. My name is Lex Li, and today I'm going to give you a talk titled Legends of .NET. So at the very beginning, a short introduction of myself. I'm working as software engineer at Morgan Stanley, and I've been a Microsoft MVP starting in 2012. You can see my blog link and also my Twitter handle. I blog and tweet often regarding my own open source projects, Microsoft technologies, and so on. So this talk was based on my book written last year in the summer called Legends of .NET, the same title in simplified Chinese, and that's the book information. So we will revisit the releases of different .NET platforms and so on, and trying to dig out why certain events happened and certain products was created, and hope that you can find the session useful. Okay, the very first question, why .NET? For Microsoft developers, in early 1990s, they have two options to write Windows applications, Visual Basic and Visual C++. Visual Basic was pretty easy, a way to write applications. You can drag and drop easily. And then a little bit coding in Basic, you can get Windows desktop applications. And Visual C++ is a little bit more complicated. You have MFC as the UI framework, but in most of the time, you need some third-party extensions and so on, because MFC does not wrap all the Windows native APIs. And also C++ is not a beautiful language to use. And suddenly in 1995, Sun Microsystem introduced a much better program language, Java, and in the meantime, it has virtual machine, garbage collector, and so on. Many cool features at that time, and not to mention compile once, run everywhere. That's really a great benefit of the Java program language and the platform behind. So Microsoft initially tries to embrace Java on Windows. That is the introduction of Visual J++ in 1996. However, this product and the relationship between Sun and Microsoft went bad after that. And a few lawsuits between the companies actually led to the death of Visual J++. So Microsoft in year 2000 announced its own version of new platform, .NET, and its own program language, C#. Both of them are similar to Java and JVM, but this time Microsoft make a lot of improvements based on the Visual J++ development, and also really tries to embrace new technologies for Windows developers. So Microsoft itself needs .NET. So what is .NET? Okay, back in early 2000, .NET actually means .NET Framework. Okay, it consists of common language runtime, a runtime virtual machine that embrace not only C#, but also other languages. That's why it's called common language. And yeah, C# and VB.NET are the top two program language supported by .NET at that time. And also it has a large bunch of classes and methods for you to consume. That's base class library. And also it has other libraries and frameworks like ADO.NET for database connection, WinForm for desktop application development, and WebForm for web apps. And notice that CLR, C#, and BCL are submitted as ECMA open standards. That gives other vendors possibility to actually clone it. Microsoft itself in the following years started to create more flavors of .NET. Okay, .NET Framework for desktop and server applications, .NET Compact Framework for mobile applications. Of course, that means Windows CE or Windows Mobile. And .NET Micro Framework is for certain embedded scenarios. And Silverlight in the second half of the first decade. Microsoft create Silverlight for the web applications. So we're gonna quickly go through. .NET Framework itself was initially in beta in year 2000, and 2 years later, Microsoft released the 1.0 release. In 2005, .NET 2.0, .NET 4 was introduced in 2010. So that's the initial release of .NET Framework 1.0 and Visual Studio 2002. Yeah, notice that even it's the 1.0 release, Microsoft already has almost the best IDE experience to develop Windows applications. Okay, so yeah, the framework has Windows Form and Web Form and multiple language. Notice Microsoft even enable C++ for .NET applications. Okay, it's the managed extension. And in the meantime, Microsoft has something specific for Java developers that's called JShap. And in year 2003, Microsoft shipped a minor update, 1.1, and also a new version of Visual Studio. It introduced Oracle support and so on. And yeah, Compact Framework for the first time, IPv6 support. And also when Microsoft, when .NET Framework was only 1.x, it actually lacked of quite a lot of ecosystem. So the open source community stepped in. They provide unit testing framework like NUnit, IDE, open source IDE, Shop Develop, Reflector, .NET Reflector, which can be used to disassemble .NET assemblies. And Mono, later we're gonna visit it in more details. Nant, it's a build system for .NET projects. And NDoc, it generates very nice documentation for .NET source code. In year 2005, before shipping Windows Vista, Microsoft created a major upgrade for .NET Framework, and also 2005 Visual Studio, a very good experience. So for the first time, 64-bit support, better integration with SQL, and Web Form gets some upgrade, Microsoft Framework. And also Microsoft created its official build system for .NET. It's called MS Build, and later it also empowered C++ compilation. Microsoft created its own unit test framework for Visual Studio, MS Test. For this release, Microsoft also introduced quite a lot of changes to C# program language, and clearly it enables things like generics. And in year 2006, along with Windows Vista release, Microsoft introduced .NET Framework 3.0, which bundles new frameworks. And also 1 year later, Microsoft shipped .NET Framework 3.5 and also Visual Studio 2008. So new frameworks are Windows Presentation Foundation, Communication Foundation, Workflow Foundation, Entity Framework for OR mapping, and more importantly, C# language has been upgraded once again. This time Microsoft introduced LINQ, language integrated queries. So you can write less SQL and more C#. In year 2010, Microsoft actually delivered a much more important upgrade for the platform, .NET Framework 4.0. Notice the new logo on the right-hand side. And this platform was upgraded once again, refreshed in year 2012. Yeah, Visual Studio has also been upgraded accordingly. So the new platform 4.x is almost a rewrite of the .NET runtime and the libraries. It enables you to write better multi-threading applications. So in the past, you need to touch thread pool, or using things like background worker. But starting from .NET Framework 4.0, you can use things like task, and the whole task parallel library enables you to write multi-threading application in object-oriented way, more efficient, much easier to write. And also LINQ enable you to write parallel LINQ. And also at language level, starting from .NET Framework 4.5, Microsoft introduced async await keywords. That means in most of the time, you can write asynchronous applications in synchronous way. The syntax is simple, but behind the scene, the compiler and runtime will generate state machines and so on to actually execute the code in parallel. Many other program languages start to learn from C#. They also introduce async await, like JavaScript and so on. So Andreas Herzberg, and he's the guy behind C#. And of course, he's really an excellent program language designer. So he also designed many other things like Delphi, TypeScript, and so on. And Scott Gassery, he was the original inventor of ASP.NET. And after that, he moved to management side. And now he's leading not only Microsoft Azure, but also many other products. He's the executive vice president of Microsoft right now. And we mentioned a little bit about Mono. And what is Mono, and what's the relationship between Mono and Xamarin? According to Miguel de Casa, the leader of Mono, we can see that initially Mono was created to actually address the challenges in Linux desktop application development. Okay, it was pretty hard to write such desktop applications. And C# and CLR, BCL, they were open standard. Starting in year 2000. So in that case, it gives possibility for open source community to write .NET Framework clones based on those open standards. And also, the design of C# and CLR enables much better native managed interoperability. So if you have some data structure on native side, it would be much easier to consume them on the managed side. So that gives Mono a possibility to enable much better desktop applications. And we see examples in the future like Banshee, like Tomboy. So that's Miguel de Casa. He actually has been working on GNOME as a leader, and later working on Mono and Xamarin. Okay, and his best friend is Nat Friedman, who was the president of GNOME Foundation, and later, worked as CEO of Ximian, Xamarin. So that's the timeline for Mono. Okay, it starts in 2001, and in 2004 it reached 1.0, and in the following year it keeps growing. So the 1.0 release of Mono already contains an IDE called Mono Developed. And it also has some special runtime technology called AOT. The relationship between Mono and Unity was started in 2008. Okay, that was around the Mono 2.x time frame. And Mono started to introduce many more things like Windows Forms on Linux and Mac OS. And the relationship between Mono and Unity actually enable a few innovations, such as single instruction multiple data support. And we can assume that after this, Mono probably gonna create libraries like WPF, WCF, Workflow Foundation, right? That should be a natural thing Mono project working on. But suddenly the whole IT world changed because iPhone was released in 2007. So it completely changed how we consume IT technology, right? And iPhone is not only a phone, right? It has an SDK and later enables an app store that actually excited quite a lot of developers. They moved from desktop, server-side and web to mobile. So the challenge for Unity is that they already support all the major platforms, but not iOS yet. So can they run on iOS? Yeah, they can. So just after the release of iPhone SDK, after 3 weeks, Unity announced in 2008 that they will create Unity iPhone support. And after 6 months, they actually ship it. You know, C# as a language cannot easily run on iOS because iOS memory model is locked down. Yeah, even today we see no Java products that can run easily on iOS. So what are the tricks the Mono and Unity guys use to enable the runtime and C# on iOS? They use ahead of time compiling, AOT, remember? Yeah. So AOT actually compiles C# source code not only to intermediate language, but one step further to machine code, which means after bundling everything together, you get a binary package that exactly the same like whatever Objective-C compiler generates. So you can submit this to the iOS App Store and yeah, reach all the end users. So for Mono guys, they see games on Unity now can run on iOS. Why not general C# applications, right? They try to solve the problems with iOS development at that time. For example, if I'm a C# language user in 2008 and was planning to move to iOS, I need to learn Objective-C. I need to learn Cocoa Touch, Xcode, and also suffer a little bit memory leak issues because automatic reference counting was not yet there on iOS. But what if I use something like MonoTouch powered by C#? I can still use .NET Framework BCL. Okay, for UI framework, I use the interface builder and Mono develop. I can write code behind for XIB file and iOS native API. Yeah, I can use garbage collector to avoid many memory related issues. I even had a soft debugger created by Mono team for the simulator and devices. I had a much better development experience even than Objective-C developers. And not to mention, Mono guys work hard to deliver same-day support. That means whenever there's a new iOS release, you can use MonoTouch to support it very soon and on the same day. And of course, the Mono guys went ahead and created similar things for Mac desktop applications and also Android developers. Wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, they must be able to shipping better iOS and Android support in the coming years, right? No, unfortunately, something bad happened. A company called Attachmate acquired Novell. Okay, who owns the Mono products. And they lay off the whole Mono team because they don't think that's the future technology. There must be regrets, right? Because only a few days later, all the Mono major team, they incorporate their own company called Xamarin. And of course, Nat as CEO, Miguel as CTO. They started to take over the legacy of Mono Touch and Mono for Android from Novell. And then they embrace it and create new releases. Like in 2012, they shipped Mono for Android. For the very first time, Mono developers, they have drag and drop in a widget designer for Android application. Wow, that's really amazing because you're no longer relying on Eclipse and the Android developer toolkit. And soon, they create new releases like Xamarin 2 and Xamarin 3. And Xamarin 3 features for the very first time a widget designer for iOS developers. So you can do that not only within the Mono developed IDE at that time called Xamarin Studio on Mac. You can also do the same on Windows in Visual Studio. Using Xamarin technology. So that's pretty cool for those developers. They no longer be buying to Mac. And when Xamarin 4 was introduced in 2015, Xamarin actually not only provide IDE development tools, they also provide testing tools for mobile applications and monitoring framework, and also other accelerators. Like Xamarin Sketch, you can write code and easily see its effect and results as diagrams and so on right-hand side. And also Xamarin Inspector, you can inspect a piece of UI, not only Xamarin Forms, but also WPF applications as layers and change the properties on the fly. And also Xamarin Test Cloud. You can run all the applications on real devices hosted in the cloud. So Xamarin was pretty great in mobile application world, and it attracts Microsoft. So Microsoft in year 2016 finally acquired Xamarin. Okay, so let's go back to Microsoft itself. It starts to create open source projects. Yeah, that's really something, surprising 2004. But more surprisingly, in 2006, Microsoft created its own open source hosting website called Plex. And starting from then, more and more Microsoft source code becomes available. So .NET Framework reference code was published, not open source, but you can see the code, you can debug it. And Enterprise Library was open sourced in 2008, and Sandcastle and Managed Extension Framework was open sourced. And bit by bit, Microsoft open sourced much more applications and frameworks. In 2014, even LINQ compilers became open source. So in year 2014, Microsoft reached another milestone. They announced at Connect by Scott Guthrie, of course, they will create a new platform for .NET called .NET Core, and it will be fully open source and also cross-platform, running not only on Windows but also OS X and Linux. That's amazing, and Microsoft working hard to create .NET Core 1.x and 1.1 in 2016, and last year they shipped .NET Core 2.0. And also, both .NET Framework and Mono has been upgraded to actually be compatible with .NET Core, right? And Scott Hanselman has been one of the key players to teach Microsoft guys how to do open source projects. And of course, Julia Leoson, she was the guy who approved all those open source requests of Microsoft components and source code. She did so much amazing work. So what would be the future? Okay, so .NET Framework and Mono will still be there for a long while because they still run quite a lot of the applications. But .NET Core will grow bigger and bigger, and finally it would take over most of the responsibility from .NET Framework and Mono. We're gonna see that in the coming years, of course. And okay, so that's a short summary. We talk about .NET Framework history, Mono and Xamarin, and also Microsoft itself, from a close company to a company that embraces open technology. And a little bit about future, because that's still something we're gonna observe. And of course, here comes the resources. I maintain personally a timeline for .NET technology, so you can visit this link on Strikingly to check it out, all the major events. And also recently, .NET Rock, the episodes, they actually had 1,500. The history of .NET. The hosts, they were talking quite a lot of interesting stories behind different .NET releases and so on. Yeah, a nice episode to hear. And also the host, Richard Campbell, he's working on a book on .NET history. He already interviewed some of the key persons, and he planned to interview more. And this book gonna actually provide a lot of insights about how those guys design .NET Framework and different components, and how those decisions were made based on what kind of facts. So personally, I'm also looking forward to this book. Okay, thanks for your time on this session.